I am really excited about our next guest. Brad Pistole from Springfield, Missouri. He runs the Trinity Insurance and Financial Services Group there in Springfield, does business all over the place. But welcome to the show.
Tom, thanks for having me. It's so good to be here.
So Brad, I know you're very, very successful at what you do, but how did it start? It wasn't rosy from the very beginning, was it?
Not your typical start for most people in this financial services world. So, Tom, from age 19 to age 36, I was actually in full-time ministry. I was a youth and family life minister. And so I knew nothing about money. As a matter of fact, I actually opted out of Social Security when I was 19 because ministers have a chance to conscientiously object. And I did. I can be a better steward of my money than the government can. And I opted out. So I had literally no Social Security, no retirement savings. And then at age 36, time to make a transition. You go through a life change. And fortunately, I had a father who had spent 52 years. He spent 52 total years in the financial services industry. Was a CLU, Chartered Financial Consultant. He worked for Blue Cross Blue Shield and Merrill Lynch. And so he said, hey, you should go take your tests. I don't know if it'll turn into anything, but you've been around me your whole life. You ought to give this a shot. And so that was my beginning at age 36, starting all over. I opened my business in the midst of the financial crisis in 2008, was my first year in business.
So you didn't even really start your own retirement plan until you were in your 30s. What advice would you give somebody in their 20s or early 30s on how to get started for saving for retirement?
Absolutely. So literally the only retirement plan I had at age 36 when I started my business was a small 403B that my dad helped start at the church. And I had that and rolled that over to an IRA. And thankfully, because I met the right people, and you were one of those people, I converted that IRA to a Roth IRA, $36,000 at age 36. And that's been growing tax-free ever since. It's tripled since then, Tom. And of course, now I have multiple Roth IRAs, Roth 401k, cash value life insurance. I've really focused on the tax-free side of things. But my advice to a young person is start absolutely as soon as you can. I didn't start till age 36, and I've been super blessed with what's happened. But start as soon as you can. Those early years are really important. And meet people who are key in this industry, who know what they're talking about. I went to a conference where you spoke in 2009, and I thought, I want to follow this guy around, read all of his information, do everything he does. And so I did that. And then I was also blessed to meet America's IRA expert, Ed Slott. And I went to one of his 2-day Ed Slott Elite IRA Advisor Group meetings. And I thought, I'm joining this group. I want to be around the best of the best of the best. And so I've been in the Ed Slott group for 15 years. I've been following you for 15 years. It transformed my life. So start early, meet people that know what they're doing, follow and emulate them.
There's so many choices out there. There's 401ks, there's IRAs, there's Roth, there's investments, there's crypto, there's annuities, there's life insurance, there's mutual funds, there's ETFs. What advice would you give to somebody on really starting to build that portfolio?
So be very careful of one major trap we all fall into. When we're young, we graduate from college, and we're eager to get started. Everyone tells us about the 401k. You need to sign up for the 401k, and you're going to get free money in the match, and we all jump in. But none of us at a young age, 24, 25, we have no clue what's coming 30 years down the road. We don't understand what tax deferral means. We didn't save the tax, we deferred the tax. So when you start off with a 401k and you get this free money, it's not all yours. You're in a joint partnership and joint ownership with Uncle Sam. He reaches out his hand and says, nice to meet you, and he handcuffs you. He's got you. So be careful with the 401k. If there's a 401k Roth option, contribute to the Roth. Max fund a Roth IRA if you have the opportunity to. Max fund cash value life insurance, things that are going to provide tax-free income to you in the future. If not, you'll be like a lot of people and you'll end up at age 40, 45, and you'll need a distribution from that tax-deferred account that you thought was so wonderful, and then you'll find out about all the penalties that are involved, and you'll find out later about required minimum distributions and how it affects your IRMA, your Medicare, your Social Security. So start young, fund tax-free accounts like Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks, cash value life insurances.
You know, when you study the history of the 401k, it started back when tax rates were higher. And it made perfect sense to take money out of your check, get a tax deduction, let it grow tax deferred, so when you retired, you're probably in a lower tax bracket. It made perfect sense. We all did it. Well, now taxes are near the lowest they've ever been. We're $34 trillion in debt. The debt's climbing at $5 billion every single morning. There's $200 trillion of unfunded obligation for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, government pensions, military pensions. Taxes have to go up. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing. It's a math problem. And so Now how much sense does it make to take money out when taxes are low to get a tax break, to defer them so when taxes double, triple from here, then I'm going to take it out and pay taxes? That doesn't make any sense. So I think you're right on the money. I've personally been able to do many of these same things because I'm focused on trying to get as much tax-free income in retirement as well. Now, you've written 2 best-selling books. Your latest book is Bulletproof.
Yeah.
Kind of tell what's that book about and why did you decide to write it?
Well, part of my story too. So going back to my ministry days, in 1999, I actually woke up in an ER. I had a surgery in my sleep. And so, like, what's going on? What in the world's happening? Well, you can barely still see the scar on my head, but in the book, there's actually pictures of it. I had a massive brain tumor. At age 27, doctor said, hey, you should not have a tumor this size. They sent me to a specialist. And long story short, Good Friday's when I had the seizure. I had a doctor's appointment on April the 11th, and on tax deadline day, April 15th, 1999, they removed the tumor from my brain. So I never forget tax deadline day. But that's why my good friend Ed Slott wrote the foreword to the book. We talk about this parallel. When you have a tax-deferred account, a 401k, an IRA, a TSP, a 403b, you have a tumor in that account, and that tumor is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. As the account grows, the tumor grows. And what's the tumor? It's taxes. It's a tax tumor inside that account. And so just like with my brain tumor, you either take control and deal with it on your own terms, or you deal with it on its terms. And its terms say, whenever you're not ready, I'm going to say you have got to take a distribution, and guess what comes with it? Taxes. Taxes are going to pass on to your spouse. Taxes are going to pass on to your children. And Uncle Sam sets all the rules. When you have to take them out, it must be emptied within 10 years if it's to a non-spouse. So the book is about, it's Bulletproof, the safe and secure retirement income plan. We talk about setting up tax-free accounts. If you're already in tax-deferred accounts, how to get those taxes out and removed. Remove that tax tumor, Roth conversions, but also protecting your account, using things like annuities with guaranteed income riders and cash value life insurance, passing on tax-free wealth to your family. So we've really enjoyed it and love writing the book.
Now, I was on the train yesterday and I was reading the Wall Street Journal. You were quoted in the Wall Street Journal about some of this same stuff.
So the interesting thing, that's right, it was cool to get here and be able to get a copy of it in New York City. So it's very interesting. The article that was written was about the required minimum distributions being at all-time highs because the market is so high. And so we look at our accounts and we're like, yeah, I'm super wealthy, but that's not all our money. Uncle Sam's saying, remember, I'm a joint owner in that account. And because we hit a certain threshold, these younger people who are wanting to build wealth, and we want them to, they're going to reach a day where Uncle Sam says, remember, I'm the silent partner, and now I'm going to be a loud partner. And you're going to have to take money out, and here's how much you've got to take out, and here's how much you're going to pay in taxes. And he's moving that lever all the time. And so we want to be very, very careful about tax-deferred savings. We want tax-free.
Now in the book, you talk about this triple whammy.
Yeah.
Tell me about the triple whammy.
So Tom, as we're building our wealth, I know in your new book, in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, you talk about the 3 phases. So we're building it and saving it, and then we protect it, and then we start to distribute it. Well, the triple whammy comes in when you start to take those distributions, and here's the triple whammy. If you take distributions, once you turn the faucet on and you retire, you take distributions, while the market's going backwards, while paying an advisor a fee, that is a really dangerous combination. So we all want to be a millionaire, right? So let's think about our $1 million account. You've got a $1 million account and you want to take out 5% to live on, so you're taking out $50,000. But what happens if the market goes backwards 20%? That's $200,000 on $1 million. And what happens if you're paying a 1% advisor fee? That's another $10,000. So you took the money out, you only took possession of $50,000, but your account's at what? You're minus 200 and whatever the number is now, you're down to 740,000 because of distributions plus market losses plus fees. Got to be very, very careful with that.
And then you talk about this quadruple triple whammy. Tell me about that and how that can prevent people from becoming a millionaire.
So the quadruple whammy is why we really want to encourage young people to save their retirement savings in tax-free accounts. Here's why. Add one element to the triple whammy. It's distributions plus losses plus fees plus taxes. So if you have $1 million in your account and I have $1 million in my account, but mine's a Roth and yours is tax deferred, who has more money? I have a lot more money than you do. Especially now, think about this, Tom. If mine's protected, it's in an annuity that protects the principal with an income rider, and it's a Roth, it's tax-free. Over here, you're just playing the market and you're in a tax deferred account. We both start distributions. Well, if you go through distributions plus losses, plus fees, and then pay taxes on the distribution, you wanted that 50 grand, but Uncle Sam says, wait, I get 50% of that 50 grand. So you do all of that from $1 million account and end up with $25,000 in your pocket. That's a terrible formula. That's a disaster. We want it to be tax-free and protected. So stay away from the triple and the quadruple whammy.
Now, you've been a radio host for like 15 years, and you talk a lot about finishing strong in the second half. Why is it so important in retirement to finish strong in the second half?
Well, we want them to start as early as we can at the beginning, but most of us are not focused on the first part of the game or the front nine. Tom, you and I love to play golf. We talk about it all the time. The back nine's what matters. Remember Rory McIlroy turning onto the back nine at the Masters and it fell apart. How many people have teed off on the 18th hole and duck hooked it into the water, double bogeyed the last hole and lose by one stroke? The second half of the game is very, very important. And so both my son and I, Hunter and I, are retirement income certified professionals through the American College. I'm also a certified financial fiduciary and a certified annuity specialist. But through our training through the RICP with people like Dr. Wade Fowle and many, many other key guests, we have learned that how you finish the game is really important. We want to focus on that second half, making sure we go from tax deferred to tax free, making sure that our risk corridor has come down. We're now protecting what we spent our entire life saving. And now we're ready to turn on tax-free income that's guaranteed, that's going to last the rest of our lives.
So that second half is really about protecting the wealth you have and then distributing it to either yourself or your family in the most tax-efficient manner possible.
Absolutely.
Now, you mentioned Dr. Wade Fowle. I follow Dr. Wade Fowle. He's helped me a lot. I quote him in almost every presentation that I do. He's one of the smartest people in retirement income. You've had him on your radio show. Yeah. Tell me how that helps your clients.
You know, it's I'm super blessed to work with people like Dr. Wade Fowle, Dr. Michael Finka, yourself, Tom Hegna, Heather Schreiber. You've got Social Security experts, economists, income experts, tax experts. With Dr. Wade Fowle, his good friend, Dr. Alex Margia, they created something this past year called the RISA, which stands for the Retirement Income Style Awareness Questionnaire. And we give that to all of our clients. We pay for it for our clients before we've ever had a meeting. If they call into the radio show, say, hey, Brad, I've been listening to you for forever. I want to come in and meet with you. Before we ever do, we send them a link to take the RISA that Dr. Wade Fowle and Alex Margia created. And in that, it's going to put them into one of four quadrants. A young person watching right now who wants to be a millionaire, they're probably going to fall into the total return quadrant. It's time to swing for the fences. Put as much money as you can and you can take the risk. But you and I, we own 20 annuities between us, Tom. We fall into the protected income bucket, okay? And so we share that with our clients. We get that report back that's generated from a disinterested third party, which is really powerful. And it says, hey, based on your own retirement income style, these are the kind of products and accounts you should have to go hand in hand with what your purpose is for retirement. So we use that with all of our clients.
You know, you do a lot of work in the retirement market. So, like, what is your strategy if you've got a 55-year-old person and they come sit down with you, you know, they have maybe a decent sized 401k, but they're a little concerned, are they going to have enough money or not? How can you give them peace of mind? And walk through your process that you have when you got somebody.
We tell every single person after they, of course, have taken the RISA and we get back their report, we use this phrase all the time: the purpose of money dictates where you put it. And so if someone calls in and says, Brad, man, I've listened to you for 10 years. I've seen your podcast with Tom. I've just now had a changing event. I turned 59 and a half and I can do an in-service withdrawal. Or I just retired, or whatever it is. They say, they trust me, they know me. Where are we going to put the money? And I will say, I have no clue. I've never met you. I've never sat down with you. You've listened to me for 15 years, but I've never met you. So we sit down and we walk through what their purpose is for the money. In my book, in Bulletproof, I talk about the four purposes: safety, growth, income for the future, and estate planning. For the most part, the purposes of money are going to fall into all those buckets. So do you want safety? Do you want to protect what you've spent your entire life earning? Are you still swinging for the fences? Is it growth? Or is it protected income? Or is it estate planning? You don't need the money. And I'll ask them, pick number one and number two. A lot of the times with the people that I'm meeting with, it's, I don't want to lose my money and I need this to last the rest of my life. It's number one and number three: safety and guaranteed income. But if they come in and say, hey, we're 35 years old, we're trying to build our savings for the future, they're going to be number two. It's going to be growth with maybe future income. So that's where our team works together. Hunter is an IAR, an investment advisor representative. and he's going to deal with the stocks, the bonds, the mutual funds. I'm going to be dealing with more of your safety, guaranteed tax planning, tax-free, and that's how our team works.
Now, we've talked a little bit about taxes, but I think taxes are a big deal in retirement. And taxes aren't going to go down from here, I don't think. And so how do you help your clients manage this tax risk? Because that's a big risk in retirement.
Sure. Well, Tom, I have everyone, I pick up a tax chart in my office. It's the history of the U.S. taxes. And I say, hey, let's just for fun, let's go to the year my father was born. It's 1944. What do you think the largest marginal tax bracket was in 1944? And most people will say, 50%. I've had them say 25%. And then I'll show it to them and they'll be in disbelief. It was 94% for 2 years. And then it stayed in the 90s, and then it was in the 80s and the 70s. So we help people understand the importance of, even if they don't need the distribution right now, this required minimum distribution day is coming. And Uncle Sam's always moving the game. It was 70 and a half, then 72, now 73. They've already set a date in the future for age 75. How in the world do you keep up with all that? Well, you need to work with a retirement income certified professional who stays on top of all that. And the key is, even if you don't need the distribution now, if it's tax deferred, Uncle Sam's going to make you take it out later. So maybe we need to be taking that out now and paying the taxes or doing conversions while tax brackets are at all-time lows. Because from 2026 on, we're $34 trillion in debt. It's going to go up, up, up.
And what people don't realize is sometimes those required minimum distributions can cause their Medicare premiums to go up significantly. And many people don't understand this whole IRMA requirement that Medicare now has like 5 different brackets, and they're big difference from the lowest Medicare to the highest Medicare bracket.
To go from 174 to 500 and something. So many times on the show I've had my good friend Heather Schreiber. I think she's America's expert when it comes to Social Security planning, and we call her Aunt Irma. You don't want to tick off Aunt Irma. And they're like, what's IRMA? Well, that's this income threshold, and if you make too much money, it's what determines your Medicare premium 2 years down the road. So when you sell a house or you take a distribution from a tax-deferred account to help one of your children, you don't realize 2 years from now, that might have taken you from $174 up to $500 and something dollars. So we have to be very, very careful about not only Medicare, Social Security taxation, federal taxation, state taxation. Uncle Sam is going to get us everywhere we turn, and that's why we say, we borrow this from Ed Slott, he says it all the time, it's not what you make, it's what you keep after taxes that counts when it comes to your retirement. And we want people investing and protecting their wealth in tax-free accounts.
That's really incredible. Now let's talk for a minute about life insurance. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. They don't think it has to do with retirement. I disagree. I'll give you a couple things that I think of. Number one, I tell people don't leave your kids money. You're supposed to spend your money. Leave them life insurance, because that goes to them tax-free. Too many people, I think, try to leave their IRA or their 401k. That's the worst money to leave. That's the money they should be spending, or at least turning that into a life insurance policy. You know, we have 4 kids, and one day we were sitting around saying, how much should we leave the kids? And my wife said, I don't know, what do you think? I said, well, if we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name the 4 kids a beneficiary, when we're both gone, they're going to get $1 million tax-free. And so we did that, and that policy's paid up. The total cost that was $150,000. So for 15 cents on the dollar, we get to transfer $1 million tax-free to our kids. But the best part is, who gets to spend the other $850,000? We do. You know, and then I've been moving more of my personal wealth to cash value life insurance for a number of reasons. Number one, it's creditor protected. Number two, it's doing better than what the bond market has been doing. And number three, I can take money out tax-free, and when I die, it goes to my family tax-free. And so share with me, you know, your thoughts on life insurance. I think you can play a big role in some of this tax planning we're talking about.
Sure. Well, Tom, for me, this goes all the way back to 2009 when I met you. So I stole my current portfolio from you. So I literally I own 8 life insurance policies. I've owned 10. I own 7 annuities. People are like, well, why in the world do you own 8 life insurance policies? Well, let's use a real example. I owned a policy on my father. My father passed away last year. It was unexpected. But thankfully, I was the owner, the payer, and the beneficiary of that life insurance policy. Now, I could have, being a good steward of my money means I want to put it into the best place I can to reap the greatest reward, right? I put it into something that paid me back triple what I put into it as an investment and paid me tax-free. What was I able to do with that when my father passed? I paid for his funeral. I paid for all the expenses for my mother that she would not have been able to afford. So, why do I own 8 policies? Why did I own 10? Well, I own one on my dad. I own one on my mom. I own a second to die on my mom and dad. I own policies on my children. I own policies on myself. I put more than 6 figures a year, every year, into permanent Cash value life insurance. Why? I've studied all the research, your research, the research of many, many other best-selling authors who talk about how many corporations put billions and billions and billions of dollars into life insurance. Why is that? They know something we don't know. They're finding out a way to leave Uncle Sam on the bench. So when you can take the power of Roth IRAs and Roth 401ks, cash value life insurance, other vehicles that are tax-free, you leave him on the bench. And there's one way around having money saved in a tax-deferred account. If someone's like, I can't afford the tax on converting right now, and I didn't hear you until I've already put $200,000 into my tax-deferred account. Well, there is a day down the road when you will have to take required minimum distributions, and you can use something called a QCD, a qualified charitable distribution. So if you're already charitably inclined and giving it away anyway, use that tax-deferred account that you took a tax deduction on up front, give it away to a charity, and leave Uncle Sam on the bench completely. So those are the strategies that we talk about with our clients.
There's also a QLAC can defer RMDs till age 85 for a portion of the IRA. That's another thing. Now,
yes.
I didn't know about your brain tumor, and I don't know if you knew that my number 3 boy JJ had a brain tumor when he was 8 years old. He had 7 hours of brain surgery.
I did not know that.
And you talked about owning life insurance on your children. I own life insurance on my children. I've had people say, Tom, I think it's disgusting that you want to benefit from the death of a child. That's not why I buy life insurance. Whenever a child or grandchild is born, we buy the largest policy that the company will issue, and we don't do it to benefit from the death of a child. We do it to control their insurability, to guarantee their insurability. See, after JJ had his brain surgery, he was uninsurable for a while. I'm sure you were too for a while.
15 years.
Now he had to go back and they had to retest him. The same surgeon that did it had to certify, because now he's a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. Yeah. And but for a while he was uninsurable. And the other reason is, I don't know if anybody knows anybody who's lost a child.
Yeah.
It's devastating. You don't go back to work the next day. Life insurance gives you time. Some people want to set up a memorial so that their child isn't forgotten. I can give you about 100 good reasons why you should have life insurance on the children as well. All right, let's kind of wrap it up. What final piece of advice would you give viewers who are on their journey to becoming a millionaire?
Start as soon as they can. Find people to follow who know what they're doing, and don't give up on that. You know, you're going to have setbacks in life, there's no doubt. And you're going to go through things where it's your mind's going to tell you, hey, I need to stop, I need to pause, I can't fund this. But don't give up. Continue to contribute. The power of compounding, and the power of compounding tax-free. So come up with a good plan. Meet with a qualified financial professional who knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about. Ask them if they're doing it for themselves. I tell everyone, ask me what I'm doing. I'll pull out my annuities, my life insurance policies. I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. And most people will say, hey, I want to do what you're doing to get to where you are.
Because see, Brad, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. And I do too. My life insurance premium is $226,000 a year, and people would say that's crazy. It's only crazy if you look at life insurance as an expense. When you realize it's an asset on your balance sheet, every penny I put in that policy is in there, plus a lot more. So, I mean, that's the way that you really secure wealth, and gives me many opportunities to take money out tax-free. Look, I know there's a lot of people who say, gee, I want to talk to that Brad guy. So how do they get a hold of you? If they want your book, or if they want to meet with you, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure, they can go on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Just look up Brad Pistole, Safe Money Radio. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can subscribe to the weekly show. I'm on 5 times a week locally, but you can listen to it anytime just by the power of new technology. You can always go to our website, www.guaranteedsafemoney.com, and we're here to help.
Brad, thank you so much for giving your knowledge to everybody today, and thank you for watching another episode of Tom Hegnes, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?